Hello, good morning, and welcome to the fourth lecture on the second section on this course on web scraping with Python, offered by Edwanix. In the past lectures we have we have reviewed a few concepts regarding retrieving web pages, parsing data. We have introduced like a few two formats in which two formats for let's say communicating within Python and a Java hash map through serialization and deserialization using two different formats, JSON and XML. And we have seen some examples of these two, JSON and XML, like their structure and how to parse them. So in which format they come normally, and how can we extract information out of those. So I expect that by this time you have already like done some exercises as I proposed in the past lectures. So you have like tried to apply like the basic core concepts that were introduced in the past two lectures for parsing data to some more complicated structures, such as, for example, looping through like a JSON or XML data structure, which has like a repetitive pattern, so that you can extract some useful information through some examples. If you've done that, then you will have no problem with these lectures. Otherwise, you may find it a little bit hard to follow. So in this case, what we're gonna do, we are gonna do some geocoding. So geocoding in this case means we're gonna parse some data which comes from geographical locations. So okay, let's start hands-on practice and with a worked example. In this case, I prepared a script called geojson.py, and for this script, we're gonna need a few libraries. So URL library for requests, for parsing data, and for errors, plus the JSON one we have seen in the past lecture, and SSL. In case any of these is not installed, you don't have it installed, so you have like a not found error while importing those libraries, then you can just like pip install SSL blah blah blah. In my case, I already have it installed, so no need to do this step. So first of all, I'll just like import all of this, and as you can see, no problem. Then what we're gonna do is, so the information that we're gonna retrieve are gonna come from Google Places API, so Google Maps. Before this was open source, so everybody could just like use this API where there are information about geographical location. But then I think Google like started receiving like a lot of requests, like a few millions requests a day for retrieving those data. So they have now restricted it more. But it's still like you can do it, but you need in this case to request them for an API key. So in my case, I'm not gonna use that, but I will give you an option to try that out yourself. So as you can see in my script here, I have defined if you have Google Places API key, enter it here. And then you can just use this some API key. In this case, I've just like used like some random one and divided it with a few underscores, just like to make it as an example. In your case, you can go to this website here that I will leave in the script, and you can read documentation regarding how to get an API key and use it. In my case, I'm not gonna do it because, of course, like I don't wanna. First of all, I will have to show the API key in my script or import it from somewhere else. But in this case, we will do like something easier. The task of getting an API key from Google, from developers of Google.com, the maps will leave it to you. So you get an API key and you paste it in there, and then you run the code and do it for yourself. So in this case, I give an option for API key. So in this case, if API key is false, I'll do something. Otherwise, if API key is true, so in case you have an API key, you can just uncomment this line, paste the API key in here, and run the script. In my case, instead, we're going to do something easier. So the API key in this case is false. So that means that we are going to get, I found like a website in which actually there is they have copied like a subset of the JSON data which is available with the developers.google API key. And what we're gonna do instead is like parsing this data, which is like freely available. So it'll be like much easier for the purpose of this exercise. Again, in your case, I suggest you try doing with Google. So then what we are, let me get it a little bit bigger. So then what we're gonna do, once we have defined the service URL that we're gonna use, which is gonna be either like Google API key or the other one, which I provided you, in case you decide to continue with the false with an API key set to be false, like such as in this case. Then what we're gonna do is we have to again like give like this SSL certificate. So this is something we already had also like in the first section of this course, and I have suggested you to not go too much into deep details with these because it may fall beyond the scope of this course. But some things we need to do is to create a contest. So create a CTX in this case with CTX equal SSL.create a default context. Check a host name set to false and verify name with no certificate. You may have like some errors while running this, but in that case just ignore them. So no worries about that. So then what we're gonna do is I'll set like an infinite loop. So while true. While true is an infinite is a function. It's just like doing an infinite loop until like someone breaks it. So until someone is just like breaking it or Control C from a terminal. And then what we're gonna do is asking you for an address. So it will ask you for an address to input and enter the location you wanna look for. And then if the length of the address is lower than only one character, it will just like break. So that means if you give just like no location, then the loop will break. And then what it's gonna do is look for parameters, like create a dictionary with the address of this parameter set to the address you're giving it as an input. And if the API key is not false, the parameters key will create like a key within this parameters dictionary with value associated to the API key you are providing as an input. In our case, we don't have an API key because we're not going to use the Google one, but we are going to use the other one, so this option will not be there because API key is set to be false by default. And the URL is just for looking for this information on URL, you need to use the service URL which is provided plus the parameters which you are passing as an address parsed and encoded. So that is the format in which you look for web pages. Sometimes you have like things like blah blah www.something.com and then slash, and then there's like a question mark or whatever, and then look for something else. What this is doing is just getting the base service URL and then plus adding up something else so that it will go on the web page that we are interested retrieving data from. Then we will do like a print retrieving. So we start retrieving from this URL that we have defined as service URL plus like the parsed and encoded of the parameters you want to look for. And then it will read the data and decode it. So first we'll send a request to this website and then read the data which is in this website and decode it, and then it will be retrieved. Once it is retrieved, then we give it a try. So if the data comes in a JSON format, then we will be able like to read it. So we give it like a try. So JS equal JSON.loads data. So if this try is basically getting the data and trying to load it as a JSON file. If it succeeds, then we will go on. Otherwise, it will just like return like a JS equal no. It means okay, we tried, didn't work. It's fine. It's not in the JSON format. Then in that case, if we want to articulate this more, we will have like to do something else. For example, like look for whether the format can be in XML or something else, whatever. That's let's say, some other articulation that can be done to get this code more complex in case you want to go more in deep in the future. And in case if not JS or status not in JS or JS status it's not okay, then it will be like fail. So we'll fail to retrieve and continue on to the next request. Otherwise, it will just like print whatever we have retrieved. So print JSON.dumps JS with an indent of 4. And more specifically, we are interested in looking for some data. So in this case, I've already like set up to retrieve some specific data and print it, such as latitude. So we'll have latitude from JS result 0 with the geometry, location, latitude. Actually, I already know where this is within that JSON file. So that's why you see this clear structure, which goes into the JS where all the JSON data has been retrieved, and then goes in there and parses through to results, then first entry in results, geometry, location, latitude, and then longitude. And this will create like two variables, then lat and longitude, and we are gonna print, and then location, same, blah blah blah. So you can see it. You will see now. Let's give it a try. So in this case, I'm not gonna go line by line, but instead I'm gonna just hit F5 and run the whole thing at once, and we'll see how it works. Done. So here, as you can see, the code stopped here. Here, address equal input enter location. So now it's asking for an input. So we're gonna give an input for entering location. So we can give, for example, Rome. So I wanna retrieve data regarding latitude and longitude of one location, and now I'm giving location as Rome. Done. So what this has done is gone through all this. So it's retrieving from this website on which has been added one more string encoded, as you can see. So it's using the service URL plus like something else, and it has retrieved 1004 characters, which comes in a JSON format, as you can see, right? So you can see it comes with results, just components, blah, blah, blah. So when I was saying I'm printing it because I already know the structure, so you can see that it exactly has asked here, because it is asking for, through the JS, go in results, and it seems that results is actually here, and then it goes into 0 in results, and then geometry. Then it goes down, 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 geometry, and then within geometry, we'll go to location, and then here's light and longitude. So we are already like aware of the structure of the JSON file, so that we can parse data, and we get the results with latitude, longitude, and then also some other information in terms of place ID and blah blah blah, and JS result with formatted address. So Rome, metropolitan city of Rome, Italy, blah blah blah. And we can give another example, for example, to see whether how does this work. But it works pretty good. So because this data that is parsing is actually like a subset of the one from developers.google.com. So actually, it's a very good source. So we can do New Delhi, and we get the same. So we get all this information about New Delhi. So I know the New Delhi administrative area level 1, India, IN, New Delhi, Delhi, India, approximate, latitude, longitude, blah, blah, blah. We can do New York, and again, works very well. Southwest, address, geometry, longitude, latitude, and so on. And yeah, I can go on with Los Angeles. Yeah, you can give it a try and play with pretty much whatever you want. China, Beijing, and so on. So I hope this gave you some hints about about what can be done with by retrieving data in a JSON format, and how data can be retrieved from like a more complex JSON format. So this is why in the beginning I told you, like, if you've done this exercise before, as I suggested in the past lecture, then you have no problem here in understanding how this data was retrieved from this JSON file. In case you haven't, there's still time. You can go back to some exercise and get back here. But I think in general, the concepts are pretty easy, and you shouldn't have like too much trouble understanding it. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and let's move on with the next one. Thank you.